Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here to talk about South Park Season 23, Episode 7, Borg Girls. And now, I obviously going into this episode, I wasn't very excited because of last episode being so horrible. But as soon as the episode started, the whole episode just, you know, it took me by surprise. It made me happy as soon as I started watching it when we hear the PC Babies theme. Interesting that it's the theme song has changed now to PC Babies. And what's also interesting is at the end of the episode in the credits, they still have the Tegrity Farms theme playing. So I don't know why that is, but it's interesting, and I like the PC Babies theme, and it got me really excited for this episode. And then, yeah, I like this episode quite a bit. I think it's a great episode. I think that it's better than the past 3 episodes, so it's better than the Halloween special, it's better than that horrible political episode, and then it's also better than the Goo episode. I would say that this is narrowly an A minus. And the reason I say narrowly is because although it didn't have as many funny moments as I would have wanted to give this episode an A, and this is the thing, again, I hate ratings. I hate, 2 stars out of 10, 3 stars out of 10, 1 out of 5 versus 3 out of 5. I hate that stuff because you're just constantly comparing and saying, oh, am I overrating this episode compared to this episode? Like, it's terrible. But, I'm just going to treat each episode like it's its own thing. And with this episode, it made me very happy. It made me laugh a couple of times. I did have one issue with it, and that's pretty much it, but everything else I loved in the episode. And I think that this episode, it could have been really bad in terms of, like, if the whole episode had just been one joke. But the way that they use the character of Heather is the name of this fake transgender person who's basically this guy who, spoiler alert, is this guy who turned transgender just to get revenge on his ex-girlfriend and a strong woman. And I love that plot. I think that's a great plot. And I'm going to call him a he because he's not really a transgender. He's just pretending to be. And he enters this strong woman competition that they're having. And it's really funny. They have this song playing called Strong Woman, and it's really funny, and it really goes well with everything that's going on, and that made me laugh. And then of course you have her, and she's doing really well because she's a strong woman, obviously. And then you have him, and he's basically like obliterating people. And we've seen this is a very, very timely issue. Excuse me, sorry guys. Very, very timely issue because we've had this problem recently where we see that all these transgender people are invading the girls' sports, and basically they're winning because they're, biologically males. And they're stronger and they're more athletic. They went through puberty as males, and so they are just better than females. And, males are obviously already naturally stronger than women, and so I love the fact that they're talking about that issue, but in a comedic way. They're not being preachy like last episode, and they're just using it for a story. Again, if you use it for a story in a very clever way, then I don't care. Last episode, it seemed more like we have this skit we want to do, we have this skit we want to do, and oh yeah, we gotta force this issue down your throat. We gotta force this issue down your throat. With this episode, it felt more like we have this funny story that we can tell. We can tell two parallel kind of stories, because then, on the flip side, I don't know really what they're trying to say with the other side, but this is where I had the problem. So it's very hard to talk so fast. You gotta talk really fast to just get it all out, so these videos don't become really long and everything. So I have to keep taking these breaths, and it sounds really exaggerated, but it's just and anyways, the guy Cartman, Kyle, and this other guy in Butters, I think, they have a board games club called Dice Studs, or yeah, I think that's what it was called. Yeah, Dice Studs. And basically the whole issue is that these three girls, I guess I can't remember if they wanted to join, like they really wanted to join, or Mr. Garrison forced them to join to make it an inclusive club, because that would change my opinion on those girls. But really, I mean, they're nice girls, and it's just they're really know-it-alls and everything, and they're and Cartman kind of feels like they're invading the club, and like, you know, they've read all the rules, they've studied everything, and like they're not making the game experience fun. And he's basically saying, and it's different though, because I guess they're trying to say that, like, even though these girls are also invading the boys' board games club, they don't actually have an advantage over boys in terms of, like, how men have an advantage of strength over women. And so I guess that's what they're trying to say, which I agree with. I think that Cartman was kind of being a jerk, which, you know, that's Cartman, and it was pretty funny what happens and how they go to the Supreme Court, I believe, and everything, and I liked all of that. But the thing that I didn't like was then they had the board games club for girls. And the thing I didn't like was this club was basically, I'm not kidding you, it was basically every girl in the entire school in this club. And it's almost like they're trying to say, I don't know what they're trying to say, because it seems to me like they think that, like, girls, like, girls have always been into board games, and like boys haven't allowed them to play board games. Like, I don't know what they're trying to say. And so it was confusing. It worked on a comedic level, but it confused me in terms of it reminded me of recently there was this British commercial of this big ugly fat woman, probably a feminazi, and she said, like, Dungeons and Dragons is meant for everyone, not just boys, and like transgenders and women should be allowed to play Dungeons and Dragons too. And like, it reminded me of that, because, like, honestly, I don't think anyone's into board games anymore. I mean, personally, I love board games, and I've been playing board games since forever. I love Trivial Pursuit. I love Mayberryopoly. I've never had a problem with playing with girls, though. and so, like, as I said in other videos, these feminists, they try to create false issues, and they try to create victimhood for themselves. And in this episode, I didn't like how the whole entire female student body was in the board games club, because it made it seem like, oh, all of them wanted to be board gamers too, but these boys didn't allow them or something. Like, I didn't really get what that was. And so, but yeah, I love the episode. I think the episode is a great episode. It's a great improvement. It's a great addition to the season. Just because I didn't like that one part doesn't mean that it affected me watching the episodes. Just I wanted to talk about it afterwards. And then at the end, it's funny because the girls decide to compete with board games with this fake transgender. And then what happens is the fake transgender loses at all the board games. And then I guess he goes off to start a board game club with Cartman or something. And that was funny. I love the ending and everything. It's just that one little issue holds it back from being an A+, because I don't get what they were trying to do with that, what they were trying to say. Other than, I mean, it would have been fine if it was like maybe 6 girls, like double the amount of girls that went in the boys club at first. But the fact that it was the whole student body, it's not realistic. I mean, guys, girls, I don't know how to say this, but like, I don't think any girl in history in my school was ever into board games. Like, we would talk about board games sometimes, and usually in class, and usually what would happen was the girls just sat there and stared at the phones while the boys talked about, like, oh, I love Monopoly, I love Clue, and like, I've never really seen girls be into board games. I mean, and I've never really seen that many guys into board games either. I mean, board games are a very, very niche thing. Like, I had German class. I took German for 4 years in school, and in the 3rd year, we played a bunch of German board games, and the girls hated it. And they were bored the whole time. It's exactly like Cartman portrayed in the episode, the way that he said, you know, let's play this really complicated game. Let's do this. Like, the girls playing this German board game, they hated it. They were like, what? What? I didn't know I was supposed to do that. Oh, God. I should have read the rule on that one. Like, they really did not care. And I don't know if it was just because it was German or what, but yeah. I just wanted to discuss that. I still give the episode an A- though, which I know A- to a lot of South Park fanboys means I give this episode an F. I mean, let's be honest, I'll probably get a dislike on this episode for not giving it an A+, but I don't really care. I give it an A-. I think it's a fantastic episode. I think that it's a great timely episode, and I also think that it was very well written, and I loved the characters, and I loved the ending. I loved how it showed these SJWs having a conflict and having to realize that everything isn't exactly like how they say it is, and how they will have conflicting ideals eventually with these certain issues, because I mean, they can't just live in delusion forever. And so this episode actually made me like the PC Principal and Strong Woman a little bit more, because honestly, the only time I ever liked PC Principal was his first episode. And I just liked him because I thought he was really funny. I hate his character. I hate Strong Woman, which of course that doesn't sound surprising to you guys. But really, I hate them because they're so one-dimensional. And so this episode added a nice dimension to them. And so yeah. Anyways, if you like this video, like it, like actually click the like button. Or if you're a South Park fanboy who thinks that you have to give everything an A+, dislike it. And then subscribe to our channel if you want to continue seeing the last 3 episodes reviewed, because I won't be able to review any more seasons of South Park because I'm not going to spend more money on more streaming services. And so goodbye, everybody!